Killing some time as you do, and producer Jesse, of all people, presented what I think qualifies as a Keystone Nightmare scenario, as we like to call it around here. Pennsylvania, of course, the Keystone State. And it was brought to my attention that Dodgers and Phillies are underway as we speak on this Thursday, October 9th, the year of our Lord 2025. We have a world where Philly could get eliminated from the Major League Baseball playoffs, and then Penn State could go 3-and-out on their opening drive Saturday, and a lot of that would overlap in terms of fandom, and it could just get really toxic. And I don't even want to present the scenario wherein Northwestern scores on their opening possession Saturday. UCLA did. Anyway, happy times elsewhere. We're jam-packed. We're high atop a sunny downtown Nashville, Tennessee. I've got upset alerts. I've got a whole stack of them here. And it turns out last week we only put a 2 on that UCLA-Penn State game. Needed to go a little higher. We needed to be a little bit more on guard for that one. So we've got the antenna up this week. No stone left unturned on the upset alert concern meter. Many of you, who I don't think listened to the whole show the other day, have pointed out, shame on you. You left Indiana and Oregon out of the Tuesday show. Well, I know that. I know that because I mentioned it thrice on the Tuesday show, and I said we will do it on the Thursday show. And there it is. Paper thump. It's right there in the pack of them. We're going to do it tonight. I'm going to talk one time only about Bill Belichick, basically to take a victory lap. And anyone who ever doubted that this was going to be anything other than a disaster, just take notes tonight. That's all we're going to do. We're going to take notes tonight. JP poll tonight. Got Cubelic on the show tonight. We got a jam-packed show. They're watching us in Phoenix, Arizona. Halifax, Nova Scotia, up in Canada, tuned in. Slidell, Louisiana. Denton, Texas. North Texas, hosting USF tomorrow night. Speaking of tomorrow night, going to be one of those classic Friday Night Lions tomorrow night. I know we've been doing some of the late afternoon stuff, some of the late afternoon Friday shenanigans. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be in Missouri. I don't know if you saw, Coach Drink did extend the invitation, delayed, but we appreciate the invitation to work out at Missouri. So we'll fly up there. We'll work out at Missouri tomorrow. We'll do all the things we need to do. We'll see who we need to see, but we will be in a hotel room, poorly lit, late at night tomorrow night. I'll tweet out and I will IG out the exact time. But Friday Night Lines will emanate from Missouri tomorrow night, and the model is hot. Ramen Noodle Express is red hot right now. You don't want to miss that. At Josh Pate, CFB, in case you haven't been following already. So I got an itch on my nose. Oh. All right, here we go. Now I'm good. I want to get into a lot of stuff tonight. Normally we lead with the upset alerts, but if I didn't talk about this to lead the show, I was going to let it get buried. So I just want to quickly discuss this whole Bill Belichick thing because it is a disaster. And anyone who tells you otherwise, and I don't even care if there's a Twitter graphic, which I know we got one of yesterday. I don't care what they say. No vote of confidence is going to change my mind. This is a disaster. He'll be gone at the latest at the end of this season. I have no doubt about that. Yesterday, the report started to circulate, in case you haven't been paying attention, that, hey, there were some rumblings. This thing with Belichick, it may be on rocky ground. Yeah, absolutely it is. Oh, no, not just that. It could be over. They're negotiating a reduced buyout. Yeah, I think all that was happening. I think it is happening. I don't know when it's going to happen, but look, we got the graphic yesterday. North Carolina Athletics had to put out a statement. Bill Belichick said, I'm fully committed to UNC football. And Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director there, hey, Coach Belichick has the full support of the Department of Athletics and the university. Translation, it's over. We are screwed. So, yes, it's going to end. When? I don't know, kind of irrelevant. They're terrible in this year, no matter who's the interim coach or the current coach. The most shocking part of this whole thing is not that they've been bad. That's the least shocking part of this whole thing. The shocking part to me, kind of twofold. Number one, there were people that thought this would work. And number two, enough of those people have control of North Carolina athletics that they made the hire. Because I can promise you one thing, the athletic director there that had to put out that statement wasn't one of them. I don't think Bubba Cunningham really wanted to go this route, but in the end, why would you let an athletic director make a hire when we can have overreaching board of trustee members and people with deep pockets and great relationships, and we can use intermediaries, and we can apply logic that has zero place in a coaching search to make a coaching decision? And that's college football in a nutshell too often, and it was the North Carolina hiring process. So the most shocking part of this whole thing to me has been North Carolina ended up looking out for the best interest of Bill Belichick instead of the best interest of North Carolina athletics. And up to this very moment, every second that guy remains the head coach there, that's what they're doing. I sound like I have some kind of axe to grind against Bill Belichick. I have no animosity, no ill will towards him, towards Michael Lombardi, towards anyone there. I don't know them. I've never met them. It is not about that. And I don't blame Belichick one bit. It's not his fault he got offered the job. He didn't offer himself the job. So someone offers me $10 million, I'm probably accepting whatever it is they're offering me to do if I'm a coach. So I'm not blaming Bill Belichick. He just happens to be the guy they hired, the guy who was very ill-qualified for the job. And I know good and well that there were some quality candidates out there that may have been somewhat attracted to the North Carolina job, which has always been viewed as kind of a low-key sleeping giant. Maybe not quite a giant, but very underutilized, very underleveraged. All those quality candidates got scared away. I know, because I know some of them. They got scared away from the process because at any given time, you couldn't even get a straight answer as to who was running the search. Sounds like something you would find in the SEC, but yeah, it happened at North Carolina. So the saddest part of this is it wasted a season for North Carolina. And if you're 58 years old, you could look at that and you could say, oh, well, on to year 59 of my life. But what if you're a junior? What if you're a senior there? You only get 4 years to attend said university. I'm not even talking about the players. I'll get to them in a second. But just if you're a student, it's kind of a crapshoot anyway as to what kind of experience you get from an athletics perspective in the years that you're enrolled at a school. So it burned one of their years. And then when it comes to the players are the ones who really get the shaft here. And they burn one of their few years that they have to play college football on this. And you will never, now this is where I will be a little critical of the way things are being handled there. Dude, no one there cares about the players right now. I know everyone says so in their statement. Let me put that back in the bottle. There are people at North Carolina who care about the players. I don't think the front-facing members of North Carolina athletics and football right now are all that concerned about the players. So there's that. The staff gets set back. So anyone that's on that staff right now, they kind of get that stench of having been part of that one-and-done season, which it absolutely will be, of Belichick at North Carolina. But number two is it shows how broken the process is, and it scared legit candidates off. And so now you're going to have another coaching search there, and I wonder how that one operates, and I wonder who's allowed to make the hire there. I hope we have put this sentence to bed that I'm about to say. I've never said it seriously on this show. I've said it mockingly, but many people have said it serious, and that is college football is pretty much like the NFL now. Can we please, at least if we learn no other lesson from this disaster, put to bed the idea that college football is like the NFL? College football is like the NFL in that the field dimensions are the same, and we play with a football, and we do score in 3s and 7s, and the equipment's roughly the same. It's 11 on 11 out here. Yes, it is. That is about where the similarities end when it comes to how you win, how you build a talent roster, how you have to navigate things like a salary cap, how you have to deal with agents, how uneven the footing is. Competitive landscape style in college versus the NFL. None of that stuff's the same. So here we are. Here we are, fresh off a coaching search at North Carolina, getting ready for, a coaching search coming up, I don't know when, not too far down the road. Quick Trip would never, ever, ever be caught dead making a hire like this. They wouldn't. They make good decisions. They made one in Westchester, Ohio. So much so that we're going to celebrate it a second time tomorrow, Jesse? Yeah, on the 10th, right? So this is worth a paper pop, I think. If you're watching or listening anywhere near Cincinnati, there is a little town, great people, I'm told, in this community, Westchester, Ohio. It's about, 30 minutes northeast as the crow flies, powered by Quick Trip. And they're having a re-grand opening tomorrow. Now, you know the rule around here. One of you has already preemptively gone and done this, and your chalice is on the way. I've got 5 chalice of supremacy to send randomly to any of our viewers who attend the re-grand opening of the Westchester, Ohio Quick Trip tomorrow. There's going to be a bouncy castle in the parking lot, people. I don't know that I've ever said that about a Quick Trip parking lot, and they got pretty much everything else. So you can go get gas and trail mix and pizza and cold brew on tap and have fun in the bounce castle, because I'm looking, Jesse, and it doesn't say kids only. No, it doesn't say it anywhere on my copy. It does not say kids only in the bouncy castle. Now, if Quick Trip Joe wants to text me before the end of the show and put out a legal disclaimer, no adults in the bouncy castle, okay. But as of now, we are operating under the understanding that it's every man for himself in the bouncy castle in the Westchester, Ohio Quick Trip parking lot tomorrow. A lot of fun should be had. I would keep security close by, though. All right. Upset alert concern meter off the charts last week. This thing was generated by Flex Power last week. It's generated by Flex Power every week. And you know what got generated? What got generated was UCLA last week. And I only put a 2 on the upset alert concern meter for that game. So I got to be extra careful this week. So the first game we're going to look at is Pitt at FSU. FSU favored by 10.5. This is an early kickoff Saturday. Have you watched Pitt this year? No, I see a lot of shakings of the heads. No, you have not. Well, they lost to West Virginia. They lost to Louisville. That doesn't matter, though, because they've benched the QB. They brought in the backup last week, and they just rolled Boston College. So it's a new day for Pitt football. You know how much we love betting on backup quarterbacks around here. FSU is reeling after the Miami loss. This is an inflection point for the season. Remember, they started hot against Alabama. Well, now they've lost 2 conference games in 2 consecutive weeks. What if they need to throw to win here? Because Tommy Castellanos famously now 1-6 when throwing for 240 or more yards. It sounds very counterintuitive, I know, but the thinking there is, well, if he's having to throw a whole lot, that means things aren't going well for Florida State, and we frankly don't love putting him in a spot at Boston College or here where he's got to throw a lot. Guys, I'm nervous about this game, so I'm going to put an 8.5 on the upset alert concern scale. Now, that's a recalibrated scale after last week because UCLA did a number to the upset alert concern meter. Next up, Ohio State's only favored by 14.5 at Illinois. Well, I'm going to be very disrespectful here because I don't see it. Ryan Day's not going to love this segment all that much, but frankly, Ryan Day needs to get used to praise because he's going to get a lot of it from us, for me at least. Then again, I never called for his job, so I was kind of grading on the Ryan Day scale. I was always praiseworthy of him. Look, it's possible the run defense for Ohio State is secretly vulnerable. I don't know. If I'm trying to pick them apart, I've got to use a very fine-tooth comb. And if I'm trying to find some path for Illinois, it feels a little weird, to be honest with you, because there are times where we'll have a game in the upset alert concern portion of the show where the spread's like 20. But I could really talk myself into the idea that the upset could happen. This line's 14.5. And I have no idea really, short of turnovers and special team scoring, how Ohio State loses this game. I just don't see it. So if it maybe the run defense is a little more vulnerable and Illinois has success there. And maybe in the limited possessions that Ohio State has, maybe Julian's saying they take something away from him. We find out there's a flaw that hasn't been exposed in his game. But what's Illinois' specialty? I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm putting a 2 on this. It sounds disrespectful. Yes, that's the exact rating I put on UCLA Penn State last week. So I don't know, man. Maybe Luke Altmaier goes full Nico Iamaleava, but Penn State was dead. Ohio State's not. So I have no idea how this happens. I'm putting a 2 on it. Prove me wrong, I guess. Prove me wrong. I've been labeled a Buckeye hater this week, so secretly I'm probably rooting for Illinois, according to the internet. So prove me wrong. Northwestern at Penn State. Oh, my goodness, it's time. Jesse? He hears me. Penn State is favored by 22.5. Big deal. They were favored by more last week. This might as well be a pick 'em. Northwestern is terrible. So was UCLA. They hadn't led a single second of the season, and then they didn't trail a single second against Penn State. The last time Penn State lost 3 consecutive games, when was it, everyone? It was 2021. Now, I have it on good authority, good old-fashioned gut feel here, that the running back rotation will change, or the distribution of carries will change. Katron Allen should be toting the mail for Penn State, and I think he will a lot more this week. This could be a transitive property special, though, because I have it right here in front of me. We all know how tried and true the transitive property is in college football. More on that in a second. Northwestern, this Northwestern team that Penn State is looking to rebound against this weekend, they beat UCLA. Northwestern has done what Penn State could not do, friends. Northwestern already took UCLA down, and now they walk into State College, and it is a toxic environment there. It is a powder keg. I am telling you. If Penn State goes 3 and out on the opening drive, or, God forbid, I don't even want to say it out loud, if Northwestern scores on their opening drive, I actually don't know what the scene would be. It would be terrible. But if you don't believe in the transitive property, I normally wait until about midway through the season to introduce it. It's done tongue-in-cheek, but you know what? If we can hook some people, if we can troll some people with this, then why not? I took it down the road a couple of miles to the locker room Wednesday, sitting there with Will and Taylor, and we were talking about another game. We were talking about OU Texas, but I felt like, given the fact that I'm sitting straight across from a former Michigan left tackle, I need to explain the implications of OU and Texas as it relates to the Ohio State-Michigan game later down the road. And when you believe in the transitive property, it can happen. This is what it sounded like.
If Texas beats Oklahoma and Ohio State beat Texas and Oklahoma beat Michigan, what does that mean for Ohio State, Michigan?
And what it means is Buckeyes by 90. That's what it means. There is no other way.
Here's your problem.
Oh, there's many problems.
Remember all that therapy you went to about having a Michigan problem? I got a Michigan problem.
We need to move on.
Even we're picking a game that has nothing to do with them right now. You're still picking against Michigan.
Means Ohio State by 90.
I feel more confident about Michigan now than ever being USC. Because you really don't believe. You're just saying it because you said in the past.
A transitive property states that if a first item relates to a second item and the second item relates to the third item in the same way, then the first item also relates to the third item in that same way.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, but the definition is more confusing the way you framed it to me.
But there's nothing to, like when somebody throws a definition and then you check it and that definition is the exact same as the internet, to me it's like, oh buddy, you operate at a different level.
Yeah, it's Francis Ellis on the podcast.
Yeah, like I could put definitions together just with I can try to throw words at something and be like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But when it's spot on, a lot of respect for you, Josh.
I'm texting Sark.
So what you're saying...
It's a 3.5 for me. The upset alert concern meter is at a solid 3.5. This is a gut check for a defense that gave up 42 to UCLA last week. No Tony Rojas. Apparently, we don't have linebacker depth. Jesse tells me this is a recent development at Penn State. We just don't have linebacker depth. I got misled on that, by the way. I thought they did. So, 3.5. But if they go 3 and out opening drive, this bumps up to a 5. If Northwestern scores on their opening drive, this is a solid 8. We're in a world where anything could happen. Remember, the guardrails are off of Penn State football right now. So there's no limit to how far down the cliff you could tumble and crash. Go Nittany Lions. Next up, Arkansas, led by Bobby Petrino, is going into Neyland Stadium. What a fever dream of a sentence. Tennessee's favored by 12.5. I've already got some really, really good ideas for what the celebration graphic could be, what the phrase on the celebration graphic could be if Arkansas wins this thing. I was talking about it with our buddies over at Next Round Live earlier this morning. Can you imagine Bobby Petrino and the boys ride into Neyland? They pull the outright upset, and then Arkansas football on the Twitter account just leans fully into the joke of the thing. 2 words, road rash. And then they just ride out of there. Unbelievable. Cinema theater. To do it, something wild's going to have to happen. But it may be possible because Arkansas has got a top 20 passing offense. Tennessee pass defense in the 100s. So what we're thinking there is I'm pretty sure Tennessee's going to get theirs. They're off a bye. They're at home. They're going to get theirs. Arkansas could as well. How often do we love betting on interim coaches on this show? Because you never know what portion of a locker room or an organization is galvanized because status quo has been broken. You just never know. There's wild variance in each quarterback. Taylon Green could blow up or he could implode. I'm not quite sure Joey Aguilar is going to implode, but he could have a C game. We've seen his A game before. If he plays his A game, they're going to win. They may cover. I'm going to put a 7 on this game. I think it's going to be low-key way more competitive than America is ready to admit. I don't think most of America even knows this game's happening. I think there are 4 or 5 SEC games bigger than this one this week, and no one's paying attention to this game except us. And if my neck wasn't strained, I would pat myself on the back right now. Lastly, another one we need to be heads up about, Kansas goes to Texas Tech. Texas Tech has been flawless virtually. They've won every game by 24 plus. You can't get your A game every week. You're not going to play at an A plus level every week. And if they're going to dip, this would be the week because they got Arizona State on deck. They're coming off that trip to Houston. It's a classic letdown, look-ahead sandwich spot, and I don't care how much you guard against it. You also need to understand you're human. Your team is full of humans, and Kansas peaked or started to peak at this time last year, and I think they could do it again. Kansas, they need to flip third down. That third down percentage is woeful. They're 127th offensively, Texas Tech top 10 defensively. If that inverts, and remember, it's just 4 quarters that we're playing here. It's not a full season. If that inverts, if there's just something off, something's a little wobbly about Texas Tech Saturday, Kansas could scare them. I'm putting a 5 on this game. I am not overlooking this. I'm taking this dead serious. I think Kansas in a one-off, just like a one-night-only type deal, Kansas could do this. They could push Texas Tech. So I'm putting a 5 on it. Let's keep an eye on that one. We just mentioned our friends at Flex Power. They generated that entire segment. Some would say that any upset that happens in the sport kind of is being generated by Flex Power. But you don't just have to believe in the upset, because some of you could be victimized by the upset. But you know what you can believe in? You can believe any time the power goes out, and it's going to happen for every one of you. Statistics show that 100% of our audience has at some point in their lives gone without power. Statistics. You can't argue with statistics. Did you have a backup generator? The 3300i is just sitting over there right now. myflexpower.com/Josh Pate. They are major partners of ours. They've watched the show for a long time, and they have recently become major partners of ours, so I appreciate them. You, unbeknownst maybe to you, have needs for their products in your life. Makes it a whole lot simpler, makes it a whole lot more fail-safe. You won't get upset. It's a good line, Jesse. We need to put that in the, if we had a prompter, we could put it in the prompter. You can avoid your upset in your life by just heading over to myflexpower.com/Josh Pate. I have in my hand something that they said would not happen. I didn't forget about this. We just delayed it 48 hours. People, Indiana is going to Oregon Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 local kick. This is the CBS game of the week, which means our friends, including but not limited to Jennifer Dell, I'm just mentioning her because I know she lives in South Florida, have flown to Seattle and then LA and now Eugene in back-to-back-to-back weeks. Whew. We know what happened last year when Indiana went to Ohio State. They were built up. They got handled pretty thoroughly. We know what happened when they went to Notre Dame in the playoff. Got handled physically pretty thoroughly. Well, this is their next shot. I happen to believe this is a better Indiana team than they were last year. So this is their next shot. The travel spot, saw Zach Shaw say this earlier today. It's a paper popper. Big Ten teams traveling across the Rockies, 12-21. This country has not come that far since the Donner Party. If you really think about it, Big Ten teams are still having trouble getting across the Rockies. So Oregon, their odds right now are pretty good to make the playoff. I'm a believer if Oregon wins this game, their odds may cross into minus territory to make the playoffs, which in betting vernacular is like a good thing. Negative is a good thing there. So, major quarterback showdown. You need to tell your family and friends, tell your wife, tell your kids, tell your aunt, if they need something to watch this weekend above and beyond just their game. Quarterback play, high level here Saturday. It's the number 1 versus number 6 guy in the Heisman odds at FanDuel right now. Dante Moore is the favorite. And then look there at number 6, Fernando Mendoza. I was on Get Up this morning. You know what Orlovsky said, Jesse? Orlovsky said, in terms of NFL future, that dude at Indiana, number 1 in the country right now. How did Curt Cignetti pull this off? All of you needed transfer portal quarterbacks, and Sig goes and says, yeah, I'll take the kid from Cal and win with him. Yeah, that's what we're looking at here. Okay, so there's some stuff about these teams that it's going to be put to the test both ways. Like there's this thinking out there right now, oh, Indiana's going to get run. Why is that? Well, Indiana, yeah, they're a good team, but they haven't really faced anyone yet. So a lot of these fancy stats that we have on this slider right now, they're inflated. People think that about Missouri too. Oh, they're inflated. Bama will come into town and deal some truth. Well, people think Indiana's going to go out to Eugene and get some truth, and maybe they will. I just want to say, could that not be looked at both ways? Oregon's got the number 6 passing defense in the country, right? Vaunted. Well, they haven't faced a top 80 passing game in P4. I'm just throwing a scenario out there. I'm throwing a theory out there. Could it be, in the interest of a competitive game, that Oregon's pass defense is just a little inflated? Because if it is this not the quarterback and pair of receivers to expose that? It's the best quarterback and wide receiver duo combo they've seen so far this year by a mile. I know that. Dante Moore, Oregon quarterback, over 72% completion, 14 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's only taken 1 sack. Have they faced a team that can pressure like Indiana? For that matter, how legit is that 15th rated pressure team that Indiana is? How legitimate is a lot of this stuff is what I'm trying to ask. How good is Indiana versus the run? They're 17th. They're top 20 in run defense, but teams have been in catch-up mode against them. So if Oregon's trying to come from behind, then okay, I pretty much expect that to hold. But what do we know about Oregon? They're pretty good. What do we know about Alton? It's a pretty tough place to play. So what do we think is likely here? What's likely, or at least very possible, is Oregon's the one up 10-3, up 13-6 early. And that's not ball game, but what it does mean is Oregon can play their full offense. Oregon can do whatever they want, which means running the ball, because they've got a very effective stable of tailbacks so far this year. At that point, we find out. These transfer portal offensive linemen Oregon brought in, we find out when they lean on Indiana for a full 4 quarters, when a team as talented as Oregon commits to running the ball for a full 4 quarters, we find out. Also, Oregon top 25 on third down offense. The explosive runs here are really key. Both teams are tied at 5th in the country in explosive runs. So I do think there's one swinging gate in this game, and it's turnover. And obviously, if Oregon's plus in the turnover battle, there is a chance this is a blowout. There is a chance they pull away, they win by 3 scores or something like that. If the turnover battle goes the way of Indiana, I don't think it guarantees that on the other side, but it does make it really interesting. It puts the game in play. Now, to be clear, I don't think Indiana has to have turnovers to win. They just have to have really high-level execution. They have to win in the red zone. They do have to do that both ways. And they have to expose a couple of things from Oregon's perspective that maybe we didn't know were flaws. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. Because the FanDuel number right now is Oregon minus 7.5. I got to tell you, when this thing was 9.5 earlier this week, Indiana plus the points was the favorite play of the model. The model, there was not a game on the board it liked more than Indiana. The model still loves Indiana. The model has Oregon minus 6. So when you cross 7, when you cross that threshold, the model really loves Indiana. I think the model is drugs on this. I think the model has gotten just a little bit hopped up on a lot of the churching up statistically, that Indiana does against inferior competition. I'm not falling for it. And I know I went on the locker room earlier this week and I picked Indiana plus the points. But I checked my constitutional rights right before we went on air. And one of those amendments, I can't remember which one it was, it clearly states that up until kickoff, any American citizen reserves the right to change their pick on a football game. And so here I am. You're going to argue with the Constitution? I am changing my pick. I think Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon's going to cover. It's a shame Sig sent those texts to Dan Lanning, allegedly, earlier this week. If you don't know, you need to go watch The Locker Room. It's actually on our channel. We collab with the Bussin' guys to feature it on both channels. Listen, I think Dan Lanning and company are going to take care of business here. So I changed my mind. I had a change of heart. And I am slamming the model shut on this game. Oregon's going to win. Oregon's going to cover. You can go to Academy Sports and Outdoors and get you a duck beanie right now if you want to. You can go get an Oregon t-shirt right now if you want to at select stores. But at pretty much any store, you can get camping equipment and grilling equipment and maybe a little kayak paddle over there. You know, you probably already have the kayak. You can get whatever you need. Bats, balls, goals, anything like that. But everyone knows Academy has that. I like to talk about the things you don't know Academy has. And it's a lot, a whole lot. So I encourage you, check out Academy Sports and Outdoors. They've been a partner of ours almost from day one. And if you can't get there in person, it's a shame, but that's okay. Academy.com has you covered. We appreciate them. We've had a lot of fun with them over the years. No end in sight. It's not the last day of high school or anything like that. We're not signing each other's yearbooks, but we appreciate them. All right, I know I confused people earlier this week. We had a little change up in the format of the show. I did the commissioner's poll on Tuesday when I normally do the JP poll, and we're doing the JP poll tonight. So here's a good endpoint for you, Bradley. Got the Week 7 edition of the JP poll. I wonder why we waited until Thursday. I guess ballots were incomplete. JP poll, we were running a little refresh on the model. Now, a reminder, this is not rankings. The rankings are the commissioner's poll. So when you see, for instance, where Notre Dame is power rated in this thing, don't think for a second that's where I would rank Notre Dame. Okay, when you see teams that have beaten teams, but they're still power rated behind those teams, it has nothing to do with where I would rank those teams. And no one believes in valuing on-field results more than me, up to and including the committee sometimes. I just am very interested in power ratings. And all this is, what I'm about to show you, is teams listed in order of how they would be favored against each other on a neutral field. So it's very much a Vegas-ish odds makers type way of thinking. I do want to tell you before we dive in, we do not have Brigham Young in the top 30. Rankings-wise, we had him top 20 the other night. Brigham Young, there are like 30 teams the model would favor against them. And if you don't believe me on that, that's okay. I would call your attention to the fact that they're playing Arizona this weekend, and that line is right near a pick'em. So there's record, and then there's what you would be power rated. Those are different things. Also, Ohio State's kind of opened up a little bit of a gap on the rest of the field. But after Ohio State, if you go number 2 through number 19, 10-point gap between 2 and 19. I'll show you who 2 is in a second. Okay, let's go top 20. Clemson is still a top 20 power rating team. That's how you know these are not rankings. Florida is that Florida back in the power ratings? Florida's back at number 19. Florida's on the road this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. They're at Texas A&M. Is it new Florida or is it old Florida? You'll know by whether they get blown out or not. If they get blown out, assume it's old Florida. Utah's at number 18, not going anywhere. Florida State, number 17. JP poll didn't drop them because the JP poll got pretty much what we expected in that game. So we didn't drop them. Missouri's at 16. We'll see where Bama is in a second. Missouri's at 16. All right, top 15. LSU's at 15. They have a critical game. I would almost call it a must-win game, but it feels like we have half a dozen of those in the SEC this week. They play South Carolina Saturday night. I've got Cubelic just waiting in the on-deck circle over here to talk about that game. He's not actually in the room, but he is calling that one. He'll be on the sideline down there. And I am just utterly and completely enamored with how LSU could come out of this bye week offensively versus how they do, because I've got high hopes. Okay? Don't embarrass me. Penn State's at number 14. If the bottom has fallen out of this team, that is not right. So the model cannot pick up on that. It cannot account for that. There's no way to know. We cannot measure the emotion inside of a building. So Penn State, I would put a giant asterisk on them being at number 14. But this is just who would be favored. I know LSU fans look at that and say, are you telling me if we went and played Penn State in Nashville that we would be a dog? Well, I'm telling you, according to the model, you would be. And then you would be free to gobble up LSU plus the points if you wanted to. I would be right there with you. I don't have to agree with the model. I just have to tell you what it thinks. Tennessee's 13. OU is 12. Oklahoma probably a little bit lower than what folks would expect. That is not the Mateer injury. That is with John Mateer. Oklahoma at 12. So you go and you handle Texas this weekend, and that fundamentally changes the profile that the model has about you. But if you've been wondering why I picked Texas against OU, number one, it's because I think Texas is the more desperate team. Number two, power ratings wise, it's a neutral field, and we got Texas power rated a little bit higher than OU. Indiana being at 11 is just incredible. That's why I'm telling you, they were never up there last year. The model never took them as seriously last year as it is now, which is why I'm telling you, I think this is a much better team than they had last year. Now, if they go into Oregon and they lose by 10 or something like that, you'll expect them to fall. They won't fall that much. That'll be a result sort of in line with what you would expect the number 11 team in the country to do on the road against a top 5 team. It's the very nature of how power ratings work. Top 10 time. A&M's at 10 and Texas Tech's at 9 and Texas is at 8. And the profile on those 3 respective teams from Texas couldn't be any more different right now. But look at the one that everyone's selling on, because that's the one rated the highest. Texas is at number 8. A lot of folks are about to find out this weekend, including me. We'll bump the microphone. We're about to find out one way or another, because it could just be that the talent profile of Texas has them overinflated. I'm willing to grant you that's a possibility, but just remember, last week, Texas got beat by Florida, and we expected it on the show. So as long as we're getting what we expect, there's not going to be a whole lot of adjustment, especially from the model's perspective in the power ratings. Texas Tech, though, look at where they are. I mean, they're above OU. They're above Tennessee. They're above LSU. The reason I'm mentioning these teams is because those are perennially top 10, top 15 recruiters. And Texas Tech's above them. That means they portaled in the right talent, and it's sort of verifying itself in terms of on-field result. Ole Miss is 7. Notre Dame at 6 is the one that's going to turn everyone's neck sideways, except mine, because I can't, because it's hurt right now. No. They're not the number 6 team in the country from a rankings perspective. And I know I'm saying this for a third time, and it gets very redundant, but we're going to put out a graphic. I scheduled it, so it's probably already out. And that's pushback I'll get. I'll get folks at this point who will say, no. I get how the power ratings work. I'm telling you, even by power ratings standards, Notre Dame's overrated. They're not. I'm just telling you, I think you'd be shocked at how many teams they'd be favored against, even with 2 losses. Top 5 is pretty much what it's been. We got Georgia 5, Bama 4, Miami's up to 3, Oregon's 2, and Ohio State's 1. Right now, neutral field, the model would make Ohio State about a 4.5-point favorite against Oregon. And like I said, in the SEC grouping specifically, there is so much disaster scenario. Because you're looking like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 SEC teams in the top 15. A lot of them play each other. Almost all of them already have losses. I think aside from Ole Miss, A&M, most of them do have losses. Oklahoma, but the point is they're all going to play each other. There are going to be some 3 and 4 loss teams. It's inevitable. And there's some major disaster scenarios coming because there are no elite teams here. It's pretty good to really good. There are no elite teams, which means, like you watched what happened to Penn State last week and everyone laughs at them. I wouldn't laugh too long. I wouldn't laugh too loud. That's the first one. That's not the last one. And so the big question with me is going to be the same as it was at media days. How many people have truly recalibrated their perspective to account for the new landscape of college football, specifically in that conference? Because you're going to have some 3 and 4 loss teams 4 and 5 loss teams even that are kind of good. And I'm not vouching for them to make the playoff. What I'm saying is you're going to have some hot seat talk in places that they have no business talking hot seat. It's just kind of the way the ball bounced. It's going to happen. This is not an if. This is a when. Just don't know where yet. All right, let's keep it rolling. Oh, I underestimated something. I got to admit to you. So we have PateStateMaterial.com, which is our store, our merch store. And we got some T-shirts in there you guys love. And that's what I wear. I just wear a white T-shirt every day. So, like, that's my thing. Savannah State had been on me for a long time, as had a couple of other people. You got to get onesies. You got to get infant gear. You got to get stuff for babies. So we launched the Lil Freights collection, mainly because I like the name, but I had no concept of how in demand this stuff was. So we launched our kids collection the other night on Sunday, and I had my mind blown at what happened because they became our best sellers. So they tell me reproduction rates are going down. I can't prove it from the store because the store indicates that there are way more babies out there than there are adults, at least babies that want to wear Pate State Lil Freights gear. So what did we do? We tripled down on it. We put like 3 or 4 new products in the store since 2 days ago. So even if you bought the other day, and judging by the numbers, most of you did, I'm half convinced some of you that don't even have newborns went and bought one just in case. Makes great Christmas gifts, birthday gifts as well. PateStateMaterial.com. Go check it out. Yeah, if you're like us, just good old-fashioned T-shirts and crew necks. Yeah, those are over there as well. I'm about to get to the Ramen Noodle Express, and then I'm going to get to Cubelic. But I do want to remind you, we got a big weekend coming up. I know a lot of you are going to have action on these games. Make sure that you are stopping by FanDuel. It's the exclusive odds provider of our show. FanDuel.com/Josh Pate if you're a new customer. You always got the bet 5 to get 300 in bonus bets, which just means bet $5 on what you think is an easy winner. And when you win, you'll get 300 in bonus bets. Right now, we're going to add to the Ramen Noodle Express. And I want to remind everyone, true sign of legitimacy in this world. Do you go to FanDuel, go to college football, and have your own tab? That's how you know you're legit. We have our own tab there. I'm not kidding about that. You can go to FanDuel, and you can go to college football. And if you're wondering what's on the Ramen Noodle Express this week, like if you missed a show, which you would never do, but if you missed a show, you can just go to FanDuel and pull up the Josh Pate tab. There are the numbers. Now, you'll notice FanDuel freezes the numbers that I handed out. But a lot of times we'll move the line. It's just a powerful show. We move the line. So you're going to have to lay worse juice the later in the week that you bet these sometimes. So you need to be tuned into the shows when they happen. I'm about to add 2 more games. Then I'm going to let you know about tomorrow night. Then we're going to get to Cubelic. Nebraska -5.5. We were on that one earlier this week. Northern Illinois +1.5. Kansas State +1.5. And Stanford +19.5. I have 2 more games to add. Give me Bowling Green +11.5. They're playing Toledo. And give me Kansas. I spoke so forcefully about that game because I'm betting it. Kansas +14.5 at Texas Tech. Dangerous. Jayhawks just pecking around. Be careful. So I'm going to add several more games on Friday Night Lines tomorrow. I'm telling you, we're not done. The model is hot right now, and we are going to ride that thing, immunity. So it's going to be sometime tomorrow night. Make sure you're checking Twitter and the Instagram story tomorrow at Josh Pate CFB. I'll let you know what time. It's going to be probably after the games, maybe after the games, 10, 11 o'clock, something like that. So a traditional Friday Night Lines start time. But just make sure you're following there. In the meantime, I hear him. I hear Cubelic. He's ready to go. So let's welcome our friend in. Usual spot, usual time on Thursday nights. Cole Cubelic of many different fames. Your most favorite thing, though, and the thing that I would say inarguably you're becoming the most known for is being recognized on the sideline at games because you're on this show. Take the folks through what that's like.
It's really cool when I bump into people and they say, Pate State, why are you not the main attraction on that show? And I say, that's not a question for me. That's a question for the other guy. Ask him. Like, why are you not on more? you know so much more about football than the other dude. And I'm just Cube Show is all I can tell you. Go check that one out.
It's crazy.
Yes, it is.
Because you sent me
it's
a video.
uncomfortable is what it is.
You sent me a video of it last week, and I heard him say the first part. I didn't hear the whole not knowing ball part. You must have cut that out. You edited it down a little bit so the video would send faster. I know how stadium Wi-Fi
I was
is.
trying to boost morale.
Yeah.
Not hurt morale, let you feel like you were important still. Yeah, I was like, he doesn't need to hear about how you really don't like him that much. It's okay.
Yeah. Are you aware that it is Cocktober? We're here. It's time. And you got a South Carolina game Saturday night.
I do.
South Carolina LSU. For the folks that don't know, 7:45-ish, 6:45-ish Central Time kickoff down there on SEC Network. You'll be roaming the sidelines. Everybody thinks everybody in this game is
Wait a second. We're kicking off at 7:45 Central?
Eastern.
Is that real?
Eastern.
Okay.
Yeah,
you said Central, and I was like,
Central.
hold on a second. I got to change my entire plans.
It would have been tough. Bradley, we're going to cut it in here. South Carolina, LSU, Saturday, 7:45 Eastern kick, 6:45 local kick there. That's in Louisiana. You'll be roaming the sideline down there. Everybody feels like they're in must-win mode in this game. Everyone tells you they got to have it. I think especially LSU would tell you they have to have it. So I am very interested for us to just ping-pong back and forth because we rarely get to do a game preview together, but since it's such a loaded week, we had to spill over into the little Thursday reservoir here. So first key, where does your mind go? Go anywhere you want to, South Carolina, LSU.
First key is something I've been saying about LSU for weeks now, and it is become more balanced. Some people may hear that, Josh. They're going to say, oh, yeah, run, pass. Don't put as much on Nussmeier. It's not even that. I don't mind you using the quick game as an extension of running the football and find different ways to get the ball in your playmakers' hands quickly. You have to even up the formations a little bit more. Give me some different formations other than shotgun, offset, running back. Now, they did this actually 7 times against Ole Miss, which was a big leap for the LSU offense. So really expanding there. Still need more of it, though. And I would like to see you develop a little more of a traditional run game to be able to offset what Garrett Nussmeier has to be for this offense. The receivers are fantastic. Tight ends are playing pretty good football. The offensive line is not. They cannot withstand 35, 40 snaps of this South Carolina front being able to go straight attack mode and being able to play basically jet formation where they think it's pass and they're going to tee off and they're going to give you the twists and the pressures and the blitzes and line up in different ways to be able to go after you. I don't think LSU wins this football game if they have to play that way. So even things up, Josh. More traditional run game, more evened out formations. Make South Carolina defend more that you're capable of doing, and I think that would give LSU a massive advantage.
Yeah, basically what you're telling that offensive staff is earn your paycheck, which is really where I am on this one. When I look at LSU, there are about 2 or 3 teams, honestly, in the SEC where I'm looking this week, and I'm breaking down the game almost like someone who is just passing by on the street would break down the game. Like, you guys getting paid how much money? You have how much advantage in recruiting and talent acquisition, and you're where? In the offensive ratings right now. So, a lot of people are going to yell, well, we got to establish the run. Man, we got to run the ball. Like you said right there, however you accomplish that's however you accomplish it. You've talked about Alabama many times this year and how Jan Miller's not running it for 7 yards per carry, but yet the offense isn't getting bogged down because of that. LSU's offense has been bogged down because they lack that ability, but I'm wondering a couple of things. Okay, yeah, it'd be great, number one, if they just find something in the run game. But I'm to the point in the season, man, where I'm not going to assume that you'll ever get that. And if you do, I'll be happy to be proven wrong. I'll be pleasantly surprised. So more so than establish the run or establish this or that, that's first thing. Second thing is if Nuss is healthy, I just want you to establish whatever. Like establish something that works. Also, if he has the added ability to stretch the field, which they really haven't so far this year because he may be a little better health-wise, which is a huge question mark, I just think to myself, all right, I'm looking at what Alabama does, and I'm looking at the fact that they've got that, and they don't have a power ground game element to their offense right now. They hope it shows up at some point this year, but it hasn't been there so far. I just look at it from the most rudimentary point of view possible, and that is there are a lot of people in that building that have jobs that a lot of folks in college football would love. And at some point, man, I like those guys on that offensive staff. You've got to earn your money. You've got what you've got. You don't get to go to the portal during week 6 or week 7. It's the same thing with Texas. You got to use what it is you have in the building, and you got to find a way to squeeze enough juice out of that orange to win a game. Key number 2, by the way. Go ahead.
I think, well, let me just follow up what you're saying there real quick. It's not even about going out and running the ball 35 times for 196 yards. It's the presentation of it. So, like, it's a great example when you go to Alabama, because what do they make you defend? Obviously, the width of the field with those receivers, but tight end in the flat, tight end down the middle of the field, running backs out of the field, screen game, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, quarterback run, bootleg. We've seen a couple of design quarterback runs that Alabama gives you. And then in the actual run game, 2 back, running back behind quarterback. We've seen Ty Simpson under center a couple of times this year. Outside zone, inside zone, duo. We've seen them hand it off to the left tackle and throw it to him also. So that presentation of what do we have to defend, how and why, and what that allows us to truly be that we think we are or are not, that's where I think I would agree with you that LSU's got to go, and just that they can't let Clayton White tee off, because when he does, he's really good at it. He knows how to free guys up and get to the quarterback. And I know for a fact he spent his entire offseason study on how to free up an elite pass rusher, because, of course, they have Dylan Stewart. Next in line for me would be key to this game, include Lenore Sellers in the run game heavily. That, however, Josh, does not mean he has to carry the football 18, 20, 22 times. The threat of him carrying the football has to be there, though. This LSU defense has to not only be aware, but they have to think that he has the capabilities of keeping the football and running on a very regular basis. Now, that could mean zone read, sort of sprint out with a pot pass element to it, which we've seen other teams do. It almost looks like a triple option nowadays. Could be your traditional zone read. Give me just a straight quarterback power or quarterback inside zone every once in a while. Boot him, move the pocket with the ability to tuck the ball and run. I felt like Mike Shula got a little bit nervous around the second, third game of the season to just let Lenoris go in the run game. And again, not saying he has to carry the load in the run game, but the threat of him carrying the load has to be there, or else this is an LSU defense that can absolutely tee off in similar fashion to South Carolina's. And they'll do it in even more ways with how Blake Baker is going to design it. You need to keep those safeties back. You need to force defenders to stay out wide because of what Lenoris can potentially give you on the perimeter. If you're going to, number one, develop any kind of traditional run game here, because that hasn't gone for South Carolina anyway. And then number two, be able to find some things down the field, because you offset what they can do from a pressure standpoint if there's that belief that, hey, this guy could keep the ball and take over at any moment. We have to be wary of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. So what you just said, I'll copy paste, I'll sign off on all that. And then I take it and I just throw it in a pot and try and bake myself to a South Carolina win if it is to happen Saturday night. And I don't know sometimes you do the magic number thing, sometimes you don't. I've got a magic number in my head where if it's just offensive scoring that's going to dent the scoreboard for South Carolina, I've got to think I got to keep them under 23, under 20, something like that. Again, if I'm not getting special teams or defensive scores, I think my defensive effort has to be of that caliber. It would help me if they're still not able to run the ball. It would help me if I make them incapable of running the ball. But also, I have always watched Nussmeier. Now, this is me if I'm a defensive staffer at South Carolina. I always watch this tape of Garrett Nussmeier, and there's always just an inexplicable decision or two in there. I've got to capitalize on that. It can't just be where the crowd goes, oh, man, that could have been bad. Oh, well, we live to play third down. I got to make them pay for that. I've got to find explosive plays, the cap busters, somehow, some way. I've been bad at it so far this year. I'm 89th in explosive play rate. LSU's defense has not allowed a single play of 40-plus. They're top 20 in 30-plussers. So there's just some inversion that has to happen there. Now, that's just to win a traditionally played game. If that doesn't happen, you just got to have some weird stuff. You got to have some Cocktober stuff happen. Take a look, by the way, at the FanDuel number is 8.5. The model agrees. So I've got no strong lean on this game as far as the model goes. As far as I go, I think I've seen the worst of LSU this year. This is going to be a tough stretch for South Carolina. I think I've seen the worst of LSU. I got really, really gut feelings about LSU and Texas this week that there's going to be a little bit of a bounce back about them. And so for LSU, look, that could mean winning a game 23-10 or something like that. But I think they're going to find a way to win and cover here. You're calling the game, so it would be very unethical of you to sound off here. But final thoughts on this one before we move on.
A similar thought that I'm going to give you to about 8 other games this weekend. Take the under.
Points at a premium. Get out of there. It's like a Greg Maddux game for you. Get out of there before 10:30 or 11, something like that.
Possibly.
Yeah. Man, let's talk about OU Texas for a second. Out of all, even including the game I'm going to this week, this one's the one I'm actually most fascinated to watch unfold. Oklahoma, Texas, Texas, Oklahoma, whichever direction you want to say the team's in. It is the Red River Shootout, known by no other name on this show. There is this mentality out there. You can really tell who kind of pays attention to college football and who looks at it driving by it, that Texas has this almost insurmountable hurdle in front of them this week. And then you look at the bottom of the screen and you see they've been anywhere from a 1.5-point favorite to 1.5-point dog. I know one's undefeated, one's 2 losses. Like, that's all the wallpaper. But when you tear off the wallpaper and you get into this game, I've listened to you talk a little bit this week. We've talked on the phone a little bit about it this week. It feels like you and I are sort of on the same page here. I went as far as to just pick Texas to win the game. At the very least, you vocalized on your show all week how, yes, this is going to be a struggle for Texas, but it should be a very, very tall order for the Oklahoma offense as well. So just walk folks through what you talked about all week.
I just don't know what the baseline offense is going to be for Oklahoma in this game if John Mateer doesn't go. Now, if John Mateer goes, it completely changes the dynamic of what this game is and what this game can be. I would love Oklahoma in this game if we had a 90% John Mateer that was going to play, because the ball distribution, the ability to operate the offense at a high level, none of that is a real concern anymore. Even if you lack the balance kind of that we referenced with, say, LSU a little bit earlier, Josh, you know what you're going to get in Mateer because he can just create, and he has that it factor, and he has the ability to just make things happen. I couldn't believe my eyes when I was watching Michael Hawkins Jr. last week against Kent State. It didn't look good. It looked sporadic. It looked panicked. It looked rushed. It never looked comfortable. And even if you want to say to yourself, hey, we're going to go back and throw in our Alabama game plan from last year and put that in, install that in this year, I don't feel like that's an advantageous plan against what this Texas defense brings. You're going to have Colin Simmons. You're going to have Trey Moore. You're going to have Ethan Burke. Elite and older edge defenders, outside linebackers, guys are going to be playing on the outside of the line of scrimmage that can defend those kind of things. And you have a defensive line that I think, yes, got pushed around a little bit against Florida, most of that a little bit later. I think they were worn down, but has still shown signs of life over the course of this season. An active group of linebackers that I also think works against, let's just say, playing that type of offense for an entire day. I don't know how anybody scores in this game because the Texas skill players have not been wowing anyone this year. You go back to last year, it was a screen, make a guy miss, take it for 50. It was a screen, break a tackle, go for 20. Outside zone, break a tackle, shake a safety, all of a sudden 5-yard gain turns into a 15-yard gain. You go inside zone, bounce it outside, make a guy miss, break an arm tackle, looks like a 2-yard gain, it's a 22-yard gain. Where are those this year? I have hardly seen any of those from this Texas offense. Sark's not running a different plan. Now, the offensive line can't protect. That's not a secret. You don't need me here to tell you that and be some sort of an expert to share that with people. So that limits things that you're going to do. And Arch Manning hasn't been great, but I don't think a lot of that's on him, or at least not near as much as some of the people in the media are potentially trying to portray. I think both these teams struggle. I think there could be an explosive play or two that decide this game, whether that's a DB falling down, whether it's a quarterback getting outside the pocket, scramble drill, somebody forgets to cover somebody out of the backfield, he runs down the sideline. I don't see anyone manufacturing yards or points in this game, neither side. And it's been cool talking to people who have been a part of this game. I've never been to it. You've been to it. But to hear how different and how unique it is from the noise perspective, the crowd perspective, we know it's split, but I think people forget about the age of the stadium and what it's like entering the stadium, using the same tunnel, the fact that the crowd noise never dies down. Like, I've never heard that about Georgia, Florida. Yeah. I've never heard somebody say that players struggle with this that haven't been in it because the noise never stops. Therefore, like, I talked to Chip Brown earlier this week on our show, and he said the coin toss is critical in this game. And for me, I'm not super experienced in this game. I'm thinking, okay, like, give me your little deal that you think you're trying to be cute and different than everybody else. And he goes on to make a fascinating point about how you better be going into your fans late if it's going to be a game-winning field goal or attempting to score late to try to win this football game, because if not, it's going to be a real problem. Yeah. And how much strategy goes into that part of it. So I look at this Texas team and I wonder, like, where are the Jake Majors? Where are the Jahdae Barons? Where are the Gunnar Helms? The guy who had been around, your hard hat, dirty work guys. I know people see Jahdae Barron, they're like, he's not like some utility player, dirty work guy. But you know what? He got put in his place 2 years ago about where he was going to get drafted, essentially had to come back to try to earn his keep and get his rating back up, change his position, and goes out and does that. So, yeah, that tells me his makeup's a little bit different than the second-year five-star guy out of East Plano or whatever it is. I don't know if Texas has those experienced guys, bring your lunch pail, show up to work, want to do it any way possible. I haven't seen a lot of those guys making plays for this team this year. I feel like Oklahoma will still have a few more of those on the field than Texas will, and that experience allows the Sooners to get the win here. I'll take Oklahoma, but I think it might give Auburn, Mississippi State from 2000, whatever that was, a run for its money.
Yeah, score 3 and win. The other weird thing, I'm not sure how Florida Georgia splits it, but they may split it, down the goalposts, where one side end zone to end zone is you, the other side. This is way different here. It is a good point. I picked up on it because I've been there before, but I never thought about it from that standpoint. They split it right down the middle of the 50. So what stands out the most is depending on the end zone you're standing in, when a big play happens, and typically in this game there are a lot of them, this year may be the exception, you're either used to an immediate sledgehammer to your ears, or there's like a 3/4 second delay because it takes the sound that time to travel. Right. And it's really, it sticks with you. Not to mention both sides are firing some form of artillery when big plays happen. There's gun smoke all over the place. The fair food, since it's not a double-decker stadium, it's really easy for the aroma from outside to come in. Unbelievable. You guys broke down some of the new dishes they're serving at the State Fair this week on your show, by the way. I don't know if you had that one with the Fruity Pebbles and the what you not memorized this morning, but I had 30% of my caloric intake from listening to you read the menu item this morning. That's how devastating it would be. Some
kind of like a super fruity Sprite special drink, and it comes in like a big plastic boot, and Sprite. I think it's got Skittles, like gummy straws. It's just like, yeah, you can tell that was a drink that was made for the sorority girls to have a little something extra to dump in there and then head into the game.
And that's what this country's all about. That's how the founders intended it. Up in Columbia, when's the last time you went to Columbia, Missouri?
Which one? Oh, Missouri. We were there last year.
You went up there recently. Well, it's a construction site now. DeBoer is 0-1 at construction sites so far at Alabama because Vandy last year got him. So he's looking to avoid going 0-2 at construction sites. I had someone ask me with a dead serious face this morning on a certain network program, should Alabama be on upset alert here? You're looking at the bottom of the screen. That number says -3.5, not -33.5, -3.5. Not only are they on upset alert, it's not an upset, ladies and gentlemen, if Missouri just has the audacity to win a game at home here, or a pretty good team. I think my questions all week, I want to get your read on this. My questions all week have been more along the lines of what's the scalability of these different stat profiles for them once they play really, really legitimate competition. Because other than that, I mean, they've been really good running the ball. I think for all of the hype that Mekhi Hughes got when he went to Oregon, Ahmad Hardy should have gotten the hype and now is getting the hype for having gone to Missouri. But when we broke the game down Tuesday, the more you look at it, the more you realize, dude, the stuff that you would normally fear if you're Bama going to Georgia, their defensive front getting after you and you not having enough time to throw and getting behind the 8 ball early, that's actually should be your biggest fear on the road at Missouri because they're more likely to do that to you and put you in a blender than Georgia. Now, I think the common fan has to see that to believe it because Georgia's Georgia, Missouri's just Missouri. And so I went Bama here by the slimmest of margins, but if we were on a debate stage and it was my job to make a case for Missouri, I could really, really easily talk myself into a Missouri win here, and I could talk myself into seeing this game script, especially if Missouri starts hot, taking on the same kind of feel as Alabama FSU did, where you're just in catch-up mode all day. And so all this goodwill and these good vibes you got about Jam Miller running the ball better and, oh, man, we're not penalized as much anymore. It is such a thin ice with hot blades situation with that because it relies on everything to keep going right and execution to keep being almost flawless. And the moment it doesn't, the moment the crowbar gets thrown in the spokes a little bit, I'm interested to see how Alabama responds.
Well, some of those things that you mentioned in the past, be it Alabama or Georgia, I think they're probably the only two teams in our lifetimes that we can use these examples for. It was overwhelming blunt force trauma, and there was just nothing you could do about it. And that, I don't think that exists really with any team in college football right now. Ohio State's offensive line is probably the close I've seen to it of just being able to do things to you that you cannot have an answer for unless you can physically match up to it. There's not a number of bodies. There's not a scheme. It's just at the end of the day, we're going to put you on your backside, and there's not a lot that you're going to do about it, and you're going to like it by the time we get to the fourth quarter. That's not this Alabama football team. Georgia not going to be that way this year either. So I don't think Missouri having to fear that is going to have to go in some shell of themselves and not be able to run their offense or run their defense and not have a chance to win this football game. I'm with you. I could sit here and convince myself and you that Missouri is going to win. I think there's a really good chance Missouri wins this football game. I go back to last week, and you kind of started to hint around something that I think we are really falling for in college football, specifically in the SEC this year. Final scores are not indicative of how these games have gone. You look at Ole Miss at LSU. You look at Alabama Vanderbilt. We walked away from that thinking that was a dominant win by Alabama. That was 2 plays away from going the opposite direction. And I think Alabama's going to need similar plays, whether it's Justin Jefferson punching a ball out at the 10-yard line going in, which would have put you down 2 scores going into the half with Vanderbilt receiving the kick, or if it's Damani Jackson working through a tight end who was kind of pulling around to be able to make a stop on 4th and short, to be able to flip the ball back to them and not give Vanderbilt a chance to go down and make that a game late. Those are the kind of plays that Alabama's going to have to come up with, and not just on defense, because they've made those plays recently on offense as well, be it Jam Miller, Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard. Cuevas has been excellent at tight end. But Missouri will match Alabama physically in this game, and the stretch play is a booger bear. That thing is hell on wheels to defend, and Kirby Moore is going to give you every formation, every motion, every splitter, everything that you can possibly imagine coming with it. The eyes of the Alabama defense decide this game, because I think Bo Prabula at times moves the football. I think Missouri gets an explosive play or two, either from he or Ahmad Hardy. I think Alabama gets an explosive play or two in this game because the Missouri defense is very aggressive. I mean, they have a safety, number one, that wants to knock your helmet off every game. Marvin Burks wants to try to ruin you. It's what he does. It's who he is. I absolutely love it. But don't think for a second that this defensive line can't get after you. I mean, Chris McClellan, Zion Young, they understand how the physicality is supposed to work up front in this league. They're not going to get bullied for 4 quarters by this Alabama offense. So I think explosive plays and a big play or two defensively decide this game. I'm with you. I just think Ty Simpson's playing at such a high level right now. He finds a way to get this one done. But there's no way that I'll hop on my flight out of New Orleans to Charlotte on Sunday morning and be extremely surprised if Missouri were to find a way to get this one.
Last few minutes here, I tried to find a path to talk myself into Auburn getting the job done against Georgia. And I couldn't find it. And trust me, I tried because I want to do the whole thing I did with Florida last week. A team that's in desperation mode goes into the bye, discovers themselves, the magic of self-scouting, and then you come out and you got a home game and it's charged, and you got a vulnerable Georgia team going on the road in your building. This is not some elite Georgia team, but I just kept thinking about 2 things. Number one, what is the special thing that I'm going to sort of hitch my wagon to? Because I thought Florida could do some things they just hadn't done. And then they did those things to a large enough degree against Texas. I couldn't find that with Auburn. And number 2, if we're counting on the environment to swallow Georgia up, I got respect for very few environments more than that one at night. But I watched them go into Neyland. I watched Georgia go into Neyland, 0 false starts. So I've already seen them handle the road, young team, handle the road very well. So I think you are going to have to beat them doing something better than them. And I couldn't find it with Auburn. Did you find it at all this week?
The only thing that I could find, if that were to take place, is going to be some of the inconsistencies, and let's just say a poor play that has shown up at times on the Georgia offensive line, and the Auburn front being able to take advantage of that. Guys like Kieron Crawford, Keldrick Falk, if they are in position to make massive plays, I mean game-changing plays, strip sack fumbles, hit a quarterback to where the ball's tipped up, intercepted, and even if it's not back for a touchdown, it's giving you the ball in the 28 or the 32 going in. because I'm with you. I don't see Auburn driving the football in this game. I would not be surprised, Josh, if all of a sudden Auburn decides that the neighborhood that they're going to move into is one that contains a lot more direct quarterback run, and just say, you know what, we're past the time here. The glass slipper's coming off. This is who we need to be if we're going to make our offense go. Still looking at some shot plays down the field, still running Hugh Freeze's RPO-based offense, but that's probably one of the few things that has a realistic chance to go. Here's the problem for Auburn in this game offensively. People are going to say, oh, the pressure, the offensive line. You mentioned Florida a moment ago. When Florida's offense is good, what's the foundation of it? Running the football, the zone scheme, inside-outside zone. What do they do off that? They counter off that, which is essentially looks like the zone scheme, and it goes the opposite direction. Then you get a jet sweep. Then you boot DJ Lagway. The basis of this Auburn offense is the RPO. The run has to go first. And this Auburn offensive line does not appear as though it's going to be able to push this Georgia front seven around. And to further that point, I walked away from the Georgia film last week against Kentucky. I know a lot of people saw it and said, God, that was a boring game. I got nothing from that game. I was actually wowed by Georgia's defense in that game. And here's the reason why. I watched that game, and I watched Kentucky have the number count in the box time after time after time. 4 in the box, 5 in the box, 5 in the box, 4 in the box, even 6 with a tight end or 2, which is still gives you the numbers game, and you should hand the football off. Now watch that offensive line work a combo. They go, oh, I got a little movement there. Oh, left guard, nice little push. Oh, right guard's pulling around and getting a kick out block. They got the numbers. Look at this. Up. Then the next thing you know, as soon as that running back got to the line of scrimmage, that number count went from 4 to 6, or 5 to 8, or 6 to 8, or 4 to 7, like that. And if the Auburn offense is going to be based on winning versus a light box with a team that can close and compress space as quickly as this Georgia defenses can, I don't see how they're going to generate enough offense to win this game.
All right, you got to catch a flight. First thing you got to do is let people know where they can find Cube Show, because the live chat is blowing up. Like, where can I get more of this guy? It's like the antithesis of what they ask you when you're in the stadium.
It is on the internet somewhere via YouTube. Maybe even if you listen to your podcasts on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just search Cube Show. We do it every Monday. We watch all the SEC games. We tell you what we saw on film. Don't have a bias either way. We just break it down for you there, and you'll be able to hear and see exactly what I saw when I put the film on. So every Monday we come out around probably 7, 8 p.m.-ish. Even with 5 games last week, we still couldn't get it out on Sunday. Not that we want to go toe-to-toe with you anyway.
No bias. It'll never work. It will never work.
Not a single time.
Yeah. All right, bud. Travel safe. Enjoy the boot. And here's to over 20 points being scored. Fingers crossed.
In any game this week. In any game.
Bye.
See you.
All right. That's him. That's our show. That's our show. We're off. We are off to the Show Me State of Missouri. Friday Night Lines, remember, at Josh Pate, CFB on Instagram. It's going to be a classic Friday Night Lines. It will actually be at night. No softball tomorrow. So we'll do it sometime later in the evening in a very, very dimly lit Missouri hotel room, immunity to everything I just said. And Ramen Noodle Express is on fire right now, so do not miss it. Until then, for Director Bradley, for Producer Jesse, I'm Josh Pate. Take care. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games, everyone. We'll be back Sunday to discuss it all. God bless.